even though the nature of the individual, the truth of who you are, is the same as the truth of Ishvara, the Creator. To invoke the Lord, the Creator, makes it seem as if one is separate from Him. That we are, in essence, the Creator Himself. We don't know. We have made an assumption that we are the limited individual in Jiva. And as such, we are creatures in this universe which is ruled by laws wielded by the Lord. So to reduce our sense of ego, to purify our minds from negative emotions, the seeker of knowledge, Jignasu, assumes the role of a jiva and becomes a bhakta, a devotee, by recognizing his Lord or her Lord. So prayer brings the bhakta out of ourselves. And this love, this devotion, is towards Ishvara, the Lord, or Bhagavan, or Shiva, or Vishnu, or Jesus. So the bhakta invokes him to bless the moment, to help us. Because we need His grace to come to own up the truth that we are, which is the truth that He is. So let us bring this love out of ourselves for the one because of which we're alive, because of whom our heart beats, because of whom our mind thinks and our brain functions. It is all His gift. Let it not be just an intellectual appreciation, but bring out the love by recognizing His blessings upon you and seek help. To come to know yourself as you are. Om. 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 Lord, protect us both. May our study be fruitful. May we exert together. May we not quarrel with each other. And may the vision of the teaching bless our lives and the lives of those around us. Lord, let there be peace, peace, peace. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejas Vinavadi Tamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There could be a dichotomy, there could be a question, or how is it that if the identity of the self is the same as the identity of the Lord, meaning Advaita? There could be a sense of, wait a minute, how is it, if that is true, then how come prayer? Who do you pray to? Isn't it? Because prayer is not, it doesn't, what do you call this, follow Advaita, non-duality. Prayer is always, there's the one that prays and the one that is prayed to, and the praying. I hope that making this contemplating upon this, can clarify, what, can actually get rid of the riddle and resolve the riddle, because it's like a riddle. If the nature of the self is the same as the nature of the of the Lord, which is an Advaitin point of view, then where does prayer fit?
It's for jiva.
That's correct. Because
For jiva, the prayer.
yeah, it's for the jiva. And then, so where is this non-duality? The jiva, if it is non-duality, then there is no jiva. Is that correct?
But he feels the jivatvam.
No, for jivatvam it is duality.
There you go. So you feel if the reality is not two, non-dual. Now what about then Lord and jiva? Where is that?
You mean the gap?
No, not the gap. How come there is Lord and jiva if the reality is non-dual?
I think my perception is you're starting with the dual. In the end, you want to realize, understand there's no dual. That's why you have a Lord and you separate in the beginning.
Yeah, but if you're studying Vedanta, right at the onset, in chapter 2 of the Bhagavadgita, Lord Krishna teaches Arjuna that that duality doesn't exist. Is that correct?
Correct.
This is the purpose of the second chapter of Gita. So he actually eliminates the duality. So now that is the premise, right off the bat. It is not something that is going to, in the course of, like when the movie is over, then, no, it's right at the onset.
That is given as a beginning of assume that. That's assume, like he said.
It's an assumption, you say.
That's not an assume. Don't go there.
That's right.
If it's assume, you're in
You have a thought.
For body, mind, intellect, personality, there is God, right?
All right.
But when it comes to self, then there is no duality.
That's correct. Now, but how can there be both things? Talking about one, Jiva and Ishvara is one thing. It's a reality, isn't it? Isn't it? And then, Jiva being not there, and there is no difference between Jiva and Lord. There's another reality. So how many realities are there?
Only one.
Isn't it true that here you are, body, mind, intellect, personality, and so on, and somewhere unseen there is somehow some being called the Lord. So, and because of that Lord, that Ishvara, or Bhagavan, or you call it, or God, you are, and your heart beats and everything else, and the laws of the universe keep you alive, and the universe is there, the sun and the moon and the stars and everything in a perfect order and all that. And there's an intelligence behind the whole thing. So here we have a duality, multiplicity, duality, the same thing. But then at the same time, there is non-duality. How can that be?
That's because of the ignorance. That's where you are trying to understand.
Ignorance of what?
Because you are always creating duality because of your ignorance.
Are you creating duality?
That's the way you perceive.
You perceive reality, okay. So what is true?
There is no duality.
There's no duality, okay. So how come this Lord and Jiva situation? Isn't that also a reality?
No, that is because of the ignorance, as you say.
So, because of what happens, then? So ignorance actually, look at this please. Ignorance is within duality.
Correct.
The ignorance of something is within duality. So are there two realities?
No, only one.
So then you say that Advaita is true. So what about the other one?
The other one is purely because of ignorance. You still deal with it because you still have not come home.
Remember this Satyam, this Tucha, and there is Mithya. So Tucha is like the horns of a billiard ball. Is that correct? The son of a barren woman. That's Tucha. Doesn't exist, isn't it? But then Satyam is that which doesn't undergo any change. Now here we're in the middle of change. Isn't it? So where does it fall? Where does it fall?
Nitya?
It's all mithya. It's all mithya means
Apparent truth.
apparent.
Can you
So there's only one reality. There cannot be two. Is that correct? So if you have if the basis of the whole thing, the truth of the whole thing is Advaita, not two. That's non-duality. That the Lord, there's no such thing as Jiva and Ishvara. Actually, all there is Brahman. Right? That's all there is. Everything is Brahman. Okay, now watch. Then again we have the duality that we live by, and then we pray too. We pray to the Lord, we pray to Ishvara. And there's a Jiva that is concerned because he has a problem, conflicts and all that because of ignorance. Ignorance within the realm of avidya, of the duality. So that there is a Jiva and there is a world and there is God. It is a fact that the eyes and the senses and the mind picks up, but they're all apparent. We see many links in a chain, some crooked and some straight, some fat and some thin, some big and some small. Is that correct? But there is only one gold. So the links, even though they have a degree of reality, what lends the links reality? Is that right? Gold links, gives reality to each link. There would be no link if there was no gold, isn't it?
The chain is inapparent.
So the chain and the links that form it are apparent, mithya, okay, names and forms. However, they all have a substratum. And that substratum is called adhisthana, is that correct? That substratum is what? Gold. So you see these immense amount of chains and links.
Yep.
And they have existence. They are. Is that correct? There's an isness to each one of them. Persons. Okay, because a person is made up of parts. And the parts have a reality. And the parts that make up those parts have a reality also. And the universe is formed with a lot of time, space, and all that stuff. Energy and all that. So they are like a big chain, and everything is linked together, isn't it? But there's one thing about them, about the whole scheme. There's an isness to it. The isness is not its own. It's owed to that which is. And that which is Brahman. You see that? Yep. So that's non-dual reality. So they only appear to be there. And we can deal with them, function and all that stuff, interact. But the truth is that everything and everyone is only apparently so. It's only a manifestation, not even a creation. It's not, because there's no creator creating, okay, let me do this, let me do that. There's no person out there. All there is just a being, and this being is lent to all the beings that come out. But the beings that come out, which you and me, are nothing but the being itself manifested as these beings that have come out. And they, as though, came out. They didn't come out. Come out means that they left the being, which is the ultimate reality, and now they haven't. No, they didn't come out. Why? Because this reality, Brahman, is immanent, inherent in every being. Just like every wave is nothing but water. Water is inherent in not only in the wave, but it is inherent in the entire ocean. There is no ocean and there is no waves. All there is water. So there is not many. The many is an appearance only. All there is that because of which the many are, and the many are just apparent. Mithya, not not there, because we can relate to that. But they're not absolutely real because they depend on something to be, just like the chain and the links depend on the gold to be. And just like the waves depend on the H2O to be. So one has to know that one is that reality. And then go on the assumption, this is called Shraddha, pending discovery. You have faith in that, the teaching unfolds that. And then you say, I am that. But then I don't, it doesn't seem like I am because I still seem to be separate. So then you ask for help. And the help is by going to the Lord, which is all powerful, all knowing and all that, in the form of a teaching, for example. And then you ask for help. And the help is not to become the reality, so that you can own up the reality that you are. And now here's what avidya, the ignorance, has made us believe. We concluded that we end at the skin. We concluded that we start at the skin. That the nature of myself is limited. And that should bring you to seek freedom from that limitation, which is called moksha in Sanskrit. And since the problem is avidya, ignorance, the solution is only one. What is the solution?
Remove the ignorance.
Knowledge. You remove the ignorance just by knowledge. And not knowledge, not head knowledge. But the same knowledge that you have about your own gender. Isn't it? Without any doubt. I think you're a boy. I say. Then you say, well, okay, say what you want. No, I'm not a boy, I'm a girl. Gender is, there's no confusion about it.
Little girls are sometimes called tomboys.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because they're still unsure about their identity. You see that, yeah? But the point is that the knowledge is direct and immediate. There is not the knowledge of something, it's the knowledge of yourself. Like that. So this dichotomy of duality and non-duality, of being one, the unity, which is undifferentiated unity, and then the jiva, the praise, needs to be resolved, because otherwise, why pray?
Yeah.
I'm in the hole all the time, and you say, what's bull? Let your wife say, hey, you go out and pick up the garbage or something, and say, wait a minute, you're the one, I'm the hole, I don't pick up garbage. See the idea? Mm-hmm. So that's the point about this here. So I wanted to bring that up, and I tried to present it in the course of the contemplation, but I think it needs to be unfolded because it needs to be clear. If it is not clear, then the whole pursuit, goes on the wrong premise. That is why Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita and in every Upanishad, the teaching starts with the knowledge. And that it sets the scene. Is that what it says? That sets the scene. And from then onwards, everything else is so that the knowledge can be owned up. And they go by different ways. In all the Upanishads and the Gita, even the chapters, they attack the error, the mistake, from different angles. And the arguments are there in the dialogues between teacher and student, until eventually the student wakes up to the reality of himself. So, what a fool I was, thinking I was this limited guy. Okay, so anyway, that's the point of this thing here. Are there any questions, please? Is there something that is not clear? This is the basis of this Vedanta.
In the real world, doesn't matter how you look at it, we always assume a parent as real, because that's how, when you grow as a kid or as an adult, continuously until you have to really deeply understand the differences. There is no difference.
That's correct.
until that time, the appearances continues to
But there has to be a degree of maturity in the person for him or her to be able to
realize
start,
that.
to realize that. It's like the person that sees the sun come out every day, takes it for granted, it all comes
Yeah.
out. So, but the person has to have the bug. You know, let me see, how is this phenomenon? It's amazing how the sun comes out every day. How does it come out? And then he goes to school.
That's what happened to
And he learns astronomy. He has to commit to the discipline of knowledge to understand, you know, the phenomenon that he sees. What we're seeing is a phenomenon. And in that phenomenon, you have to have a certain degree of growth as a person to just ponder, what the heck, what is this thing here really ultimately? And you can go into all different directions, but ultimately, wait a minute, it still doesn't jive. It doesn't make sense, you know, what is it? So then, a teaching like this can come to you that addresses the fundamental problem. What is the fundamental problem? Is avidya. Is the wondering that stops completely. Why? Because the understanding comes. So there has to be a degree of growth. And if the growth is not there, at least you have to know. For example, let's suppose I want to learn astronomy. So to know astronomy, I have to have certain degree of capacity to be able to think in a particular way, isn't it? To think in a particular way. If I only go by what I touch, and what I see, what I hear, you have to start. So you go by things that allow you, for mathematics, you know, this and that, and so on. You look at a flower, and then you start seeing that there's more to it than the petals and the smell, that there's something behind it, a chlorophyll process, and those stuff, all of that stuff you don't see. So that allows you to also look into the sciences to understand astronomy or any other science. Like that. So this here thing requires a particular maturity, some kind of growth. Otherwise, you fall asleep in the class. Or you say, oh my God, I got to go to that one again. Whew. Becomes a drag, as they say. Okay, so that maturity needs to be there. Otherwise, there's no question. My God, you see it come out, so what? I don't care. I don't care. Something is that trigger it, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you were saying something else, I'm sorry.
Well, if you have a chance to see Einstein's documentary, you have a chance to read his biography, that bugged the shit out of him, E is equal to mc squared. He wanted to prove, and there were naysayers continuously about his theory. Only one guy, an American scientist, believed that he's right. And because of the war, and because of the situation in World War, and where he is, and his family situation, so this American scientist, which is sponsored by US, I mean, academy, to go. So then he has to go by train in World War II to the only place is Crimea, where the full solar eclipse is going to happen.
That's in the Mediterranean, yeah.
Yeah, and he goes by and he goes by train, taking all this equipment, set up, fog.
The fog, yeah, you covered it, you can see it. So anyway, so that's the point. You know, you have to have the drive and the spirit to go and
tell you, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Then he goes to the Africa, where there's the next one. Then take it to the no man's land with all the equipment. That's another horrendous trip.
Yeah.
And when the scientists come and they take all the formulas, go back and check it, right on the money.
Yeah.
They couldn't disprove it.
That's correct. So that's the idea. So there has to be a sense of, ignorance is a veil.
Yeah.
A veil covers something. And then that veil you want to get rid of. It's called the pursuit of freedom. And freedom from what? From that veil. In this case, you know, the Einstein's pursuit.
Yep.
And this guy's pursuit. The person that was actually the anthropologist, they just go and they live for 20 years up in the desert, my God, just picking up rocks and everything else. You know, it's a tremendous orientation to the discipline, and he just drives their life, and they get money to support them and all that stuff, and they gotta convince all these investors, and they gotta be hot about it. You know, hot.
Yep.
It's called mukshutvam. It has to be there. The deep
burning desire.
burning desire to be free of what? In this case, of what is astronomy, and in this case, what is physics, what is the nature of the atom and all that stuff. And also, wait a minute, so that is interesting, I get something, but I'm left untouched. Because I know all the stuff and I'm still standing on one leg. Then I start pursuing, well, who is this guy? What is the nature of life? Not in terms of physics, but now in terms of spiritual. And then the person goes for that, and it becomes a life pursuit. It's called Brahmanishtam, isn't it? Brahmanishtam means someone that is actually, his only focus is on Brahman, on the whole, to try to understand that. Now for that, there has to be some kind of growth in a person. Because we just let life go by every day. Weekends go real quick. Okay. Ask me about it. They just go like that. It wasn't very long ago that I was still a young man. I had a whole lot of hair. And all my teeth even. So that's the thing, the person somehow, in the course of living, needs to develop this particular bug. It's a bug. And hopefully the person will have the correct, the appropriate knowledge exposure to appropriate knowledge. And even that, the person should be very keen about saying, wait a minute, what does that mean in terms of my life? You see, so the person has to be is like a person that goes to a doctor. And the doctor gives him all these very technical words. And the person, wait a minute. Either write it down number one so I can look it up in Google, or explain to me in my own language. I want to understand what the heck you're talking about. What is this Noma thing? It's to become responsible for his health or her health. So you have to be responsible for your life, because there's a disease. There's a disease in you and in me. You know what a disease is?
This ease.
Lack of ease.
Yeah.
Lack of ease. In other words, I don't care what we achieve or law or get rid of, or whatever it is. This disease seems to just come back all the time. Lack of ease. So it needs to what? It needs to disappear. And we try to find all kinds of ways to make it disappear. The new Apple product. No, I got it, so on. All this stuff. New wife. A baby. Nice car. Well, so much money in the bank. Kind of a thing. Or if you're a renunciate, I want to get rid of all this money. I want to get rid of my house. I want to get rid of my wife. I want to get rid of it. All this looking for what? For ease, which means peace. And peace, just as I say, peace is defined by the what? The interval between two wars. Isn't it? The same thing. So anyway, Vedanta addresses is designed to address that fundamental problem to those who have the stick-to-itiveness to be able to go for it. And you won't find many people there. Mm-hmm. And nobody can exclude you. You can only exclude yourself. That's all. Isn't it? Yes, only oneself can exclude oneself. Okay, very good. So we are in verse 33 of what chapter? Chapter 2, isn't it?
Yeah. 33.
Right.
Chapter 4.
Oh, chapter 4.
Chapter 4, that's correct. Chapter 4. Meena, you want to start reading that?
Yeah. We are verse 33, right?
Yes.
This discipline of knowledge, O Scorcher of foes, is superior to religious disciplines performed with materials. O Partha, all action in its entirety is resolved in knowledge. In verse 24, the clear vision of Atma, Samayag Darshana of the nature of the Atma, was given the status of a yajna, that is, it was explained in the form of a yajna. This was done in order to present Atma as a non-doer by converting all the karakas into Brahman, which means that everything is Brahman. To unfold this knowledge, many kinds of yajnas were mentioned, each of which can help a seeker gain a purified mind so that the knowledge can take place. Because of their usefulness in gaining antakarana shuddhi, these yajnas were pointed out. However, one must avoid being carried away by the disciplines themselves because they have a limited end. They can only prepare the mind for the knowledge. The ultimate end, moksha, can only be gained by knowledge, not by the performance of religious discipline.
Okay, very good. Anybody wants to comment on this? Is there something here in the verse itself, or in the
My comment is this paragraph says they can only prepare the mind for the knowledge, ultimately for the moksha, can only be gained by knowledge. Those two, how do you connect preparing the mind for the knowledge and by only knowledge? So that definition of preparing the mind is again what we discussed earlier.
yeah. When we talk about maturity, let's put it in a more Swamiji is, Guru here, Krishna is in the verse. He says, is superior to religious disciplines performed with materials. Now, materials here are things, and you can only deal with things.
Like rituals?
Yeah, the rituals. Yeah, you only deal with things. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. And you have to do for the sake of getting things, getting real things. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. That is the purpose. And even heaven becomes like a thing. We conceive heaven in a particular way. The trumpets, you have that particular concept or whatever. Or the 33 virgins or whatever. Things. In the religious discipline, it's a matter of achieving things. And these objects can be, even love can be a thing. Is that correct? Objects. Things and objects are the same thing. Now, that requires what? In order to achieve anything, what do you require?
Something?
No, in order to achieve anything, what do you require?
Knowledge.
No.
Some means?
What means do you require? What mean? How do you acquire anything? Let's suppose you are there, right? And then you want to come over here. So what do you require to achieve, to get here?
Effort.
Effort?
Action?
Action, that's correct.
Okay.
Is that correct? Mm-hmm. In order for me to say, to communicate what I'm thinking, I gotta what? Talk. Yeah. And the words are a thing, and the knowledge that goes, and the idea is a thing, and he goes to another thing, which is you. I don't talk to the chair. Is that correct? So everything is addressing something. Yes.
Clint Eastwood talked to the chair.
I see. Yeah, that's right.
That's a good one.
Okay, but there was a thing there. The guy that was invisible, that's a thing too.
Yeah.
Okay, now anyway, so that's the point. Now, so the mind can only deal with that. And of course, there has to be something that helps the person deal with that, to do with things. That is why the Veda, the first part of the Veda, which rituals and ceremonies, the religious part of it, is so voluminous in comparison to the end of the Veda, the Vedanta. Mm-hmm. Why? Because here it has to deal with things, and things are desired. Is that correct? And these desires need to be achieved. And the desired things are things. And the desire is a thing too. So you have to manipulate and handle somehow, either by asking somebody to give you something or to intercede for you to get something. But it's always had to do with things in religion. That's normal. Because that's all the mind, can I say this? The mind is like this table, which is brown. You can see a little bit of shine here, right? The lamp is there, and you can see a little bit of shine. But you can only see so much shine. It only shines so much. Is that correct? Now, look at this. This is more or less the mind of somebody which is very dull. It's a dullness of the mind. Awareness is there, but awareness is at the lower, I don't know how vibrations, how they work, but these are very low vibrations. Is that correct? Very low vibrations. The waves are really separate like that. It's called tamasic. Okay, now, but then there is also what? The other aspect of the mind, which not only, in which there's a little bit more shine, more shine means that in living is a little more, okay, but then the direction is also tamasic, meaning active, dynamic, but towards what? Getting things, isn't it? Now there's another one, another level. Now here's a little more, the rajas, the dynamism, now even though it's still dense, but not as dense as tamas. You see, but now the thing is reflecting a little bit. And then it's considering others. So selfishness is less. Is that correct? So if there is rajas, if there is dynamism, it's towards what? To serve others. It's called seva, like that. It's the mind of a seva. Now this is a more mature mind. The first one is very mature. Me, mine kind of thing. Living only for what I get. What's in it for me? What's in it for me? But not in the sense of some, yes, what's in it for me? Money. What can I get for you? Kind of a thing. Now watch. Now this rajasic person that before was going towards tamas, towards the dense, now is going towards the higher. So rajas, meaning dynamism, it shines more. And it actually gets out of itself. And then it can perceive how you feel. It empathizes with you. And then it gives you a hand. And so if not, at least it feels your pain and so on and so on. This is just not just selfish, but it's high. And then he gives you a flower. Or just puts his arm around you. Or whatever. Or tries to make your life easier in some way and so on and so on. It's called what? Rajas, towards sattva. Sattva is a more evolved mind. But so the evolution is gross. Now the person when you wish sattva, let's say, reigns, and with sattva is there, it's still there's tamas and rajas. However, the basic thing is sattva. And sattva is to be able to say, okay, what is this? It's a thinking mind. It's the mind that inquires. The mind says, okay, what is the nature of this thing here? Not for the sake of just gaining things to be able, but he goes into he feels unknown, as you were. Scientists and all that stuff, but no longer in terms of that, but to try to help humanity and so on. But it also has the capacity, that maturity, to be able to go delve into the nature of himself or herself. And you see people in the store, you see people in the shops, all different kinds of mentalities. Of course, they're all buying groceries and picking up tomatoes and this and that and all that. They got a kid right next to them. They just came for work or going to work and all that. But besides that, there is something else inside of all of them. They all want to be happy. And each one goes the way they can or the way they know how to be happy. And the mind is tamasic. And then you say, God, may I find $100 bill? And they pray for that. Is that correct? Or may my child be okay, and so on and so on. And God is to give those desires. But then amongst those people that are shopping, there are some thinkers that say, wait a minute, what the heck is this about? In other words, they don't have a field, in which they can actually inquire into that, but given the opportunity, they spark. And immediately, I said, wait a minute, you can take two rocks together and hit them and nothing happens. But you take a flint, flint?
Mm-hmm.
It's also rock, isn't it?
Yeah, it's around, yeah.
However, you can make a conflagration out of it. All you gotta do is just seize the opportunity to crash against something. And all of a sudden, here you come to a talk, and say, wait a minute, this is what I've been looking for. Now, where's the coffee? Where's the potato chips? Where's the beer? It's okay, we'll have that later, but right now, I want knowledge. I want to understand. Now, that's the thinking mind. That's what I said right here. This discipline of knowledge, the teacher is saying, oh, a scorcher of foes, meaning what? What does he call them, scorcher of foes? He calls Arjuna that. He calls Arjuna that. What does he mean by that? He's a very special person. You know, he's a warrior. He's a very brave warrior. He's a noble person. And he scorches foes. Foes means what? Enemies, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then he scorches those foes and he eliminates them for the sake of the people. Is that correct? And then he says, oh, scorcher of foes. He says, now here's another foe. What is it? The foe. Foe is the ignorance. And he's actually telling you're going to burn that ignorance too, fella. Just as you scourge the enemies of the country and of the people, you are also a scourger of foes. Why? Because you will be able to burn that ignorance too. Okay? This discipline is superior to religious disciplines for materials. Nothing wrong with a person having a mind that is Rajas Tamas. When it's really Tamas, it's very dangerous. But when Rajas Tamas, it's okay. And then we start thinking about it's okay too. But this is in the religious things. But then, oh, Partha. Partha means what? The son of?
Arjuna.
The son of
And
your mother.
Kunti,
The son of your mother. He says, now, this is all actions in its entirety. All action in its entirety. All of that is resolved, what? With knowledge. What? Are you going to resolve? You're going to resolve action? What's wrong with action? Well, action, nothing wrong with it when you're dealing in the empirical world to be able to actually make things happen. But if you're trying to resolve the fundamental situation of your life through these yagnas, these disciplines, you're backing out of the tree. They have a purpose, yes. They purify the mind, antakarana shuddhi. But they're not designed to resolve the problem. Why? Because they are limited in scope. Scope?
Mm-hmm.
They're limited in scope. Why? Because actions have a beginning, have an end. And what you're looking for is something that is constant. And they're not, the problem is that of understanding something, not of doing something. Because he's using what? See, remember that the Bhagavad Gita is also Vedanta. It's a Shastra. The same as any Upanishad. So he's dealing in that level. It isn't a matter of getting rid of action. It's a matter of what? Or applying action in a way that it is measured for a purpose. Remember that disciplines are called, we have sadhanas. You know sadhana? They call it spiritual disciplines. Why do they call sadhana? What is the root of sadhana?
Is it like a focused
To
action?
Sadhya.
Something to gain something.
Yeah.
A means to get something, isn't
Get
it?
something, yeah.
A means to get something.
Yeah.
And that's something, if you're going to gain something, it's something usually that is away from you, in time or in space, isn't it?
Yeah. To gain or to achieve something.
That's right. It's a means to gain or achieve something.
Yeah.
And it's always something within time or space. Because time and space is the same thing, ultimately. Now, here, we're talking about knowledge. There's something to be gained, but it's not in terms of time or space. It's in terms of knowledge. In other words, for that, you need to, the distance here is neither time nor space, it's ignorance. And then actions will keep you in ignorance. Because actions by themselves are limited and they belong to the realm of what? Not satyam, it's asad. Asad means that which is not true. And what you're looking is sat or satyam. And actions can only have so much range. They can only achieve something, and what they can achieve is what? A mind that grows from tamas rajas into rajas tamas, and then into rajas sattva, and then is sattvic. Now that's what it's called a mature mind. That is the purpose of the sadhana. So sadhana has a place. And Swami Dayananda here says, in this verse 24, the clear vision of Atma, in the verse 24, the clear vision of Atma, of the nature of the self was given the status of a yajna. Is giving that knowledge the status of a yajna. That is, it was explained in the form of a yajna, means a discipline. This was done in order to present Atma as a non-doer. In other words, so that you can actually come to see that Atma doesn't do. Just like H2O doesn't do, it is the waves that do. By the grace of but Atma doesn't do. Okay? So then, he says, by converting all the karakas. What is karakas? Remember that?
Yeah, all the factors that are related.
All the factors related to an action. By converting them to what? Into Brahman. In other words, all the factors that go into the pursuit of any action, okay, all of them are within the realm of Brahman. And they're all Brahman. Remember that he used the rituals and he said the spoon is Brahman, the bell is Brahman, the fire is Brahman,
The action,
the action is Brahman.
Karta, everything.
The whole thing is Brahman. The purpose is Brahman. All the karakas, all the elements that go into an action, they're all Brahman. In other words, they seem to be many, but all there is, they all just nothing but Brahman. So he converts those karakas. And you gotta see that. I say, God, it's all Brahman. So where can you go and not see Brahman? So anyway, so he's doing that. He said, which means everything is Brahman. And then he says, now, here's what he did. To unfold this knowledge, he said many kind of yajnas were mentioned. Okay, all these yogas and this and that, including rituals, isn't it? Mm-hmm. To unfold it. And remember now, look at this, please. When you unfold something, you see this part, and then you see that part, and you see that part, and you see that part, and you see that part. You're unfolding. So you start with that. He said, because unfolding means analyzing it. Is that correct? To analyze it. You start, to unfold this knowledge. He said many kinds of yajnas are mentioned, meaning different kinds of rituals and ceremonies, disciplines, each of which can help a seeker gain a purified mind. Now look at this. From tamas, I'm very tamasic, I do yajna, what? I start practicing charity, okay? I say, is that to unfold? What for? For the sake of practice? No, yes. So you can start growing from tamas, me, my, mine, into the thinking of others. So you unfold that. So charity is a yajna, it's a discipline. Prayer is a discipline. So little by little is unfolding this thing here. He said, to unfold this knowledge, many kinds of yajnas were mentioned, each of which can help a seeker gain a purified mind, higher level of vibration, not just slow vibration, but a high vibration. That's what talk about vibrations in that respect. Okay? He says, so that the knowledge, so in that mind that is functioning in a very high level of maturity, knowledge can take place. However, there is one caveat here. The person can become enamored. You know enamored? The word enamored?
Yeah. The one who wanders?
Becomes in love, falls in love with a practice. Like many businessmen, business people, they become involved with buying equipment or buying the new product. And
somebody gets a shopping, it becomes going to shopping.
Yeah,
it becomes more addiction.
It's an addiction, that's correct. So a person can become hung up in the practice, in the yajna. I am a yogi, I do only hatha. But he does this and I do that. And he says, what did you practice? Kind of a thing. And they don't recognize sometimes, because they don't have the qualified teachers, that there is an inquiry to be made with that beautiful mind that is created through the sadhana, through the practice. And the reason they're not involved with that, with recognizing that, is because their own gurus, they only have that knowledge too. And they become experts in a particular field of yajna, of exercise. But they have not had the opportunity to develop the capacity to have that greatness that is created in the mind, to then from there graduate into have a mind That's an inquiry mind. Besides that, they don't have access sometimes. Now, sometimes they have access to mantras. And they become in love with that too. Bhajans and this and that. And they don't want to do anything else because they fall in love with that. Or the morning ritual and this and that. This, how do you call this? The Surya Namaskar, how do you call that? Surya Namaskar? Surya Namaskar. All of this stuff. Certain kind of food, another, and this, not this food, but that food, and some kind of drink, not this drink, that drink, and all that stuff. Kind of clothes, they have to be, what? They have to be, no nylon. Kind of a thing. It becomes a hang-up. So, he says right here, to unfold this knowledge, many kinds of yajnas were mentioned, each of which can help the seeker get a purified mind. So, in that mind, the knowledge can take place. Knowledge cannot place in another mind. If the mind is hung up, forget it. Because of the usefulness in gaining antakarana shuddhi, that means purification of the mind, these yajnas were pointed out. However, here is a big warning. One must avoid being carried away by the disciplines themselves. Why? Because they have a limited end. They can only prepare the mind for the knowledge. The ultimate end, moksha, can only be gained by knowledge, not by the performance of religious disciplines.
How do I know I'm hung up?
Well, how do you know a hang-up? Let's just see what a hang-up is. Hang-up?
Yeah. Addiction?
Yeah, an addiction.
Obsession.
Yeah, obsession. Yeah.
How do you know there's a hang-up?
Well, all the time if you are just thinking about
That's correct. And let's suppose when you have it, how do you feel?
you are uneasy.
When you get what you want,
Then you are happy.
you're happy. Now let's suppose when you cannot do it anymore,
Yeah, then
you become very unhappy. Now let's suppose you're happy right now having it, but then there's a threat that this thing might stop. Now, so you're happy having it, isn't it? Now there's a threat. A person can be a threat, or a circumstance can be a threat. How do you feel now in the midst of happiness?
now worried.
Very worried, isn't it? That's a hang-up. And then when finally you find that the threat is gone, you finally release, that was close. But then still the thing is, so I better be careful so that this doesn't, I have to just make sure, manipulate the world so that the threat won't happen again and you eliminate it. If it's my wife, I get rid of her. You know what I'm talking about? Or exercise power to try to make sure that I have control. So then the controlling person, I hang up. A hanger can be hung up on a person can be hung up on an object, and a person can be hung up on a situation.
So that means don't be attached, but be ready to detach.
Yeah, but how do you detach if it hurts? It hurts, doesn't it? Just think about it. It hurts. How do you detach? First of all, you have to recognize you got to hang up.
Yeah, don't get attached.
No, you have to recognize. If you don't recognize you have to hang up, you are in denial, the thing will continue on. Even God can't help you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Now, when you start finding yourself alone, and when, oh my God, here comes this guy again. Nobody wants to see you anymore. I said, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? I got to hang up. What? What's my hang up? I don't take a bath. But once a month only. It just says hang up. When you start seeing that there's a gap, and this gap is happening between you and the ones you love, the ones you want them to love, and you have to do all these things, you have to buy things in order to be able for them to smile at you and all that. And then you're so hung up on that. So then you start to say, wait a minute, what is this here? I'm bound. You know bound? Mm-hmm. It's like a straitjacket, my God. That's what bound really means. Mm-hmm. I am bound by this hang up. I don't want to do it anymore, and then you do it again, and you don't want to do it anymore, and then you, all of a sudden the person starts growing into a different level. He's accepting, and then he seeks help. You know, the Alcoholic Anonymous thing is very, very easy to see. You will not start the process unless you are able to recognize that you have a problem. And in order to recognize you have a problem, you have to hit bottom. It hurts, man. Let me tell you, to stop drinking and to stop smoking, it hurts, man. It hurts physically, emotionally, and then you start slashing, you know, because you're like a caged lion. So then you ask for help, and who's the best person that can help you? Sometimes your peers, they don't have the tools to help you. Who can help a person like that?
You yourself.
God can help you. You take a power grade for yourself, and you accept that. If you don't accept that, you try to raise so many ways. You yourself cannot do it. It is like a slippery slope. You cannot stop. So you have to ask God's grace. And that's just second step. They go 12 steps. Then you have to make amends. You know amends? What does amends mean?
I'm sorry?
Amends.
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 Make amends?
Make amends.
Adjustment.
Adjustment, right?
Yeah.
No.
To fix
No,
things or
repair. Like,
Repairs. You gotta go to your wife. You gotta go to your husband. You gotta go to your child. You gotta go to your work and make amends. You know, this I've been screwing up. It hurts me, and I don't want to do it anymore. I like to do something to make up for this somehow.
Yeah.
You see, all of these things require what? To get out of yourself and to be courageous and so on, and have faith that somehow this is going to work for me. And when you slip back, you know, then you start over again, over and over until finally you break the habit. But you need to recognize first that you have a hang-up. If you don't know you have a hang-up, you know, others are telling you. And if you're not listening, you will never hear it. And even if you hear it, you try to stop it, you can't stop the hang-up by yourself. That is why knowledge, that's what we pray at the beginning of the class. Lord, protect us both. Means what? Give us a hand. May what we study be well studied, understood. May the ego is not get in the way, meaning, you know, thinking, well, I know more than that. May the egos not get in the way of discussion. And may the vision help me, help others around me. I added that part. That is not in Sanskrit. I wish somebody would write that in Sanskrit to see that part. But it wouldn't rhyme.
Which one did?
You know, the last part of the prayer, you know, that I added to it, may the vision of this, may the vision of this teaching bless myself and those around me. So anyway, that's the point of this thing here. It's a very good question. How do you get rid of it? It hurts, I'm telling you. It's very difficult. There's a lot of fear. Actually, let me tell you, I know this because it happened to me. You even have physically sick.
Yeah.
You get sick. You know, an alcohol addiction, you get sick. Well, how do you call this? Nicotine addiction, you get sick. Nicotine.
Yeah.
You get sick emotionally, and you get sick physically with nicotine addiction. But you gotta be able to what? To go cold turkey. You know the cold turkey?
Quit cold turkey.
And, you know, you gotta go quick. Cold turkey, what means you can do it by yourself,
right.
but
Just
stop it.
Just stop.
And that is so hard. I know. That's so hard. However, it can be done. However, you know, you shouldn't expect that from anybody, you know, because it's very difficult to do that. You know what got me out of it? The knowledge, the teaching. I was able to go cold turkey because of it. Cold turkey. But it was tough. So anyway, so that's how you know you have addictions. And then how do you stop it? You cannot stop it by yourself most of the time. You have to have something.
Amending it.
Yeah. something that we're able to do it. Okay, let's go to the next one. You see, I reread the whole two paragraphs to give it the meaning, even though I dramatized a little bit, because this is the crux of this whole thing. Because even these classes can become a hang-up, please. You know, because it's enjoyable, it's nice company and all that stuff. It has to be done for the sake of what we want, and that sadhya, you know, the sadhya needs to be clear. Sadhya means what?
Pursuit.
The pursuit, the objective, the end, what I want, needs to be clear. Otherwise, it becomes another hang-up.
Yeah.
Now, it might be a good hang-up. There's no alcohol here, there's no, you know, illicit sex, there's no any of that stuff, where there's no backbiting, you know, that's a good hang-up, okay? You can say that in terms of hang-ups. But you better grow to the next one, to the next stage. And for that, there has to be an inquiry mind. I try to inquire on this thing here as much as I can. And so anyway, because anything can become a hang-up.
Sure.
You want to read the next part, please?
Sure. Disciplines are only a means, not an end. Therefore, the discipline itself is not an end. Any discipline is but a means for a given end, one of which is antakarana shuddhi, purification of the mind, and another is antakarana naishchalya, steadiness of mind. With such a mind, you will surely gain the samyaga darshana, the clear vision of the nature of self being totally free from action.
Okay, let's just stop right here. Please comment on this if you have a comment or question. Did we discuss this already?
Yeah.
Now this this last effect of the discipline, we had not, I had not seen it in Sanskrit before, which is called what? Antakarana naishchalya. Yes.
That word comes from another word called nishchal. Chal means something that is moving.
Mm-hmm.
Chal like chalana, or there's, even currency is called chalan because it's moving.
And na negates it.
Yeah, the one that does not move, chalan, that is nishchal, that is adjective.
Okay.
And noun is naishchalya.
Naishchalya.
The one who has naishchalya is nishchal.
Yeah.
You got it now?
Yeah, I got it. You see, this is so important to understand. I'm glad you mentioned this, because I wasn't aware of the word itself.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, what is the impediment? Let's say you teach me cooking, and I come over, you know, all the way from Oakland, and I say, okay, Louis, here we are cooking. And I'm not paying attention. You know, you do the thing, you try to be methodological about it, and at the end of the whole thing, it went like that. Why?
You didn't pay attention.
Why didn't I pay attention?
Not interested or
huh?
not?
Your mind is someplace else.
That's why it was unsteady.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is true.
It was unsteady. I mean, I was looking at your dress, I was looking at the way you had things in the kitchen, and so on and all that, but there was no focus, isn't it?
That's where the nishchala.
There you go.
Chala is moving.
So there's no focus. Now, so here, antakarana means what? The inner instrument, which means the mind, becomes what? Steady.
Steady.
That steady mind, now, look at this, is ready to pursue whatever you want. It's at your disposal. A mind that is not steady is not at your disposal. You are at its disposal. It rules you, you don't rule it. You know, it's like, I don't know if this is the right example. Once you get up, you're ready to walk. In other words, you're ready to walk. I mean, you can choose not to walk, but you're ready to walk. You just stand there, but you're ready to walk. When you're sitting here, you're not ready to walk. This possibility of walking can only happen when I stand, isn't it? So, when from the standpoint of the antakarana, the mind is not available because it's in different subjects. It's unsteady. It cannot serve you. Is that correct? You know, just think of the time the day you were in love many years ago. You know, you couldn't even work, my God. Thinking of the girl, thinking of the guys, oh my God, I wonder if he's going to call me. And there was the work over there, it was not done. Why? Because the mind was unsteady. Or there's a new TV coming tomorrow, and this and that, or we have a trip next month, and we're gonna, and we don't take care of things. Why? Because the mind has got what? Nichya. So that's the point here. That's the word is that. The mind needs to gain what? Nichya. I got it, didn't I?
You can say chanchal too, right?
Yeah, chanchal, yeah. Chanchal, yeah. Like a butterfly.
Like a butterfly. Like that.
That is chanchal, and then this is nischal.
Nichal.
The one that is constantly moving is chanchal.
Okay, all right. So that's the whole idea here. So then look at that in that context. Okay, where is the word? And the bottom. Where are we?
The very first paragraph.
We're in the first paragraph.
Yeah,
Okay. Yes. Therefore, the discipline itself is not an end. In other words, the sadhana. And so I'm somebody's disciple. This is my practice, I say. Because, well, the practice becomes the end. What did you practice? My practice is this or that or that. It's always action, okay? And then that practice becomes what? The end. And I'm becoming better and better in my practice. Is that correct? That's not the end. It says any discipline is but a means. I underline means for a given end. It's sadhana for a sadhya. Okay? One of these ends, one of these sadhyas is antakarana shuddhi, which means purification of the mind. Now, look at this, please. Remember we said what's purification of the mind? What is this purification thing? So you don't think by thoughts? I'm going to be pure boy.
Positive.
Yeah, samachittatva.
No. So purification of the mind, of course, samachittatva might be one of them, but purification itself is what? What is an impure mind?
Steady?
No, impure mind is sad and angry.
That's correct. When the mind is riddled with negative emotion, sadness, jealousy, is that correct? Anger, resentment, desire for vengeance, and this and that, trying to get even, in other words. So that is it's an impure mind. Vanity is one of them, isn't it? All of these is called antakarana ashuddhi. Ashuddhi, isn't it? So a mind that has no anger, a person is not upset with himself or the world. Okay, a person which is compassionate, is that correct? A person that is accommodating, a person that is loving, that is what? Antakarana shuddhi. So the disciplines have the purpose of bringing a mind that is shuddhi, instead of being ashuddhi. Instead of being impure, to become pure in terms of getting rid of negative emotions by replacing them with positive emotions. Now, you take a meter. Well, let's take like a thermometer. You had the day today. Okay, we did something today. We got up in the morning. Here we are in the evening. If we were to do the same thing as an accountant, and look at the tag, for the sales and all that stuff, earnings, and losses and so on. You say, my God, we have more losses than earnings. When I got up, I saw something I didn't like. I got angry. So then I finally, I got, oh, I see you did it, okay, I'm happy. Why? Because you did it. Okay, good. I go around and say, oh my God, I got to make the first again. What should I make? Oh my God, all this stuff. So you have to start thinking in the course of the day, and take stock. Is that the right words? Take stock. Not to judge yourself, just to judge what happened. If you can go on a scale from 1 to 10, okay, in terms of Shuddhi, was it 9? Or is it mostly was Ashuddhi? In terms of purity, in other words, positive emotions. Not positive thinking, please. It's not positive thinking, it's just... No, I'm talking about emotions that you want to hold and keep with you. Who wants to get rid of anger? Everybody. Who wants to get rid of love? No one. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So to get rid of, to want to get rid of anger is because I have a negative emotion. Anger is a negative emotion. I don't want it. But then, can you do the same thing with love? No, I want it. So positive is in the sense that you want to hold on to it. Negative is that feeling, that sensation that you want to get rid of. And that's how positive and negative are saying. That's Shuddhi and Ashuddhi. Is that correct? So we need to know what that means. Okay, sadhanas, when they're performed properly, should bring antakarana Shuddhi. Now, when they're done for religious purposes, they're not necessarily for antakarana Shuddhi. It gives you hope. Now I did the puja. Puja means ritual. Now let's see what God says. He's going to give it to me. The guy is going to call me. The girl. Or my teacher is going to give me a passing and so on. I said, Lord, please, I did my puja. Here I do the puja. Because that's what happens, isn't it? That's what we do pujas. Pujas means ceremonies or rituals. Go to temple, go to church, whatever, for the sake of giving something. That's not antakarana. That's kamya karma. Mm-hmm. Kamya karma means desire-centered karmas. Desire-centered actions for objects of some sort. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Now here, antakarana Shuddhi is for the karma yogi, not kamya karmi, but karma yogi. A person whose actions he turns into yoga, meaning what? Yoga means a means to purify the antakarana, no longer to get this or that, to have a mind that has positive emotions in it, to a high degree, not necessarily 100%, but a high degree, so that that mind is offered to what? To the Lord in the form of the teaching. You see the point? Mm-hmm. It's for the sake of knowledge. That is what's for. Antakarana Shuddhi, the pursuit of antakarana Shuddhi, is for the sake of self-knowledge. And the antakarana, which is pure, free of agitations, the mind that is free from agitations, is also for the sake of self-knowledge. Not just to get peace. Oh, I want to get some peace. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to do this to have some peace. That peace is only in pieces. Because it goes away like a Coca-Cola. You drink a Coca-Cola. And I had to have another one. Like an aspirin to get rid of the headache. You got a cancer in your brain, you taking aspirins? Yeah, it feels good for a while, but then you haven't gone to the root of the problem. That's the whole idea behind this. So it's not just for peace. Antakarana, use the word, how do you call that? Nashaya. Nashaya. It is not for the sake of just having peace in the mind, please. It's to have a mind available to know. Like, look at this please, like the mother that gets up early in the morning and makes sure the night before she did the laundry, she was able to see that because it's winter, the nice warm jacket is available. And not only that, she also went shopping the previous day to get everything ready for breakfast. And she gets up 1 hour or 2 hours later to prepare breakfast for the child, so that the child will be available to go to school and learn. But if the guy goes with a little t-shirt in the winter, you see that? And then he goes with an empty stomach to the school. The teacher is speaking, but nobody is listening. Why? Because there is what? Achaya, how do you call it? Achaya?
In
When the mind is agitated, what?
Chanchal.
Chanchal, yeah.
Yeah.
There's agitation. That mind cannot pick up. So if you want to come to class, I say always, somehow, set yourself up for the class. Tomorrow I have class, okay. I better sleep well tonight. I'm going to turn the TV off a little early, and so on. And then I'm going to make sure I get my 7 or 8 hours. So tomorrow's class. And I can't, for some reason, okay, between 3 and 4, nobody talks to me. I'm going to take a nap. Kind of a thing. Why? Because I want to be present for the class. So that becomes what? Yagna. It becomes what? A discipline. Not for the sake of being awake so I can feel good. No, it's for the sake of being available for knowledge. Otherwise, knowledge doesn't take place. The mind is all over the place. And the teaching goes like this. It doesn't even touch me. It doesn't touch my heart. That's the whole point. So yajna serves that purpose. And yajna is not a sacrifice. Because they usually say, well, it's a sacrifice. Well, it's to make something sacred.
Is it like conditioning?
Yeah, you can help the mind, yes. You create like being fit.
Yeah.
That you're going to go on vacation and you're going to go to, how do you call that? In China, the big wall. The big wall in China?
The Great Wall of China.
Yeah, Great Wall of China. Mm-hmm. But you don't even walk from here. You had trouble going from here to the car. You go to the Great Wall of China, you're gonna have to look at the telescope because that thing, who's gonna get up there? You gotta go out all these steps and walk all these miles back and forth. You're gonna be in shape. It's a conditioning. Otherwise, you spend what, $4,000 or $5,000 on a trip for you and your wife. You come back, Hey, do you see down from the Great Wall? No, not really. I saw up from the Great Wall of China was at the bottom of the thing.
I bought a card.
Yeah, there you go. That's the whole idea. The same way. It's a conditioning. Conditioning in that sense. For the sake, that becomes a sadhana. To start walking around the block, and then you go around the neighborhood. So when you get there, you'll be in shape. It can bless you. What? The experience can bless you. Otherwise, it doesn't bless you.
I got a question on
Sure.
this. When you reach a point where, assume this is all, when your pursuit is to get antakarana shuddhi, assume that you don't have any waves or what do you call it, raga, dveshas, or whatever, purification of mind. Is that itself is the end of it? My point is you already reached a point. Then where is the knowledge? What is knowledge after that?
Okay? That is knowledge. You see. You see. That is knowledge. And you don't see an object, you see yourself. And when the teaching is being unfolded, then it is not just something that is interesting. Wow! Yes,
So,
it is true. Aham Brahmasmi.
So when you feel or you are antakarana shuddhi, then it's like a lens or an opening.
It becomes an instrument upon which what the words are saying. The words are not the thing. The words are pointing towards the thing. Is that correct to say? Mm-hmm. The words are not the thing. Mm-hmm. But the words are pointing towards the thing. But if I'm not ready, then I get hung up on the words.
It's just like the statement you made, stand behind me, see what I see.
Yeah, that's correct. Then when you see the meaning of the words, you don't think of your gender. Is it a conscious thing? Every day you gotta go, I'm a woman, I'm a guy. You gotta look over there to see if I am or not, isn't it? It is a knowledge, it's a direct, immediate knowledge. Now, right now, we're going, the mind is convinced that you end and start in the skin. And that is a very And something that nobody has ever told you. Because it is an assumption that is accepted by everyone. Is that correct? Everybody thinks the same way. Now, when I point to a gender, you don't have to say, wait a minute, let me see, what does that mean? You know what it means, isn't it? Is that correct? You know what it means. And it is not a word. It is not a word. It is a fact. So when the mind is ready, antakarana is there, is shuddhi, and then free from agitations.
It becomes your nature.
Oh, you just drop the mistake of feeling the limited, bound person. And you see it for what it is. Of course, you still see limitations that the personality ends in the skin, but you know that is not true. Then everywhere you see yourself. And not because, there I go. No, no, no. It's like the ocean wave. You know, now that person knows that I am water aspect, I am water. Everywhere he sees his water, but still he's a mother. He still sees a father. He still acts as a son because it's a role to play. But the knowledge, the deep knowledge, just like a woman, doesn't have to be thinking, I'm a woman. Then he acts according to his nature. You can act away from the nature, isn't it? Even if you dress yourself as a boy or you dress yourself as a woman, the nature is never leave you.
So that means at that stage, a person will not be wavering with raga dveshas.
No, no, no. Raga dveshas are for the ignorant person. Now, raga dveshas will be there for the personality, but they will not be binding in raga dveshas. Binding in raga dveshas meaning like in these hang-ups. They're binding as heck, you know that?
Yep.
That's why the Macy's make so much money in furniture and all that stuff, you know, and in clothes and all that stuff. Why? Because and then the perfumes and all that stuff and all this stuff for males, you know, suits. Because we are ragadveshas. The only thing we are ragadveshas. We have no reality. These likes and dislikes, these attractions and aversions, we are that. Aside of that, we have no being. As a matter of fact, if for some reason someone recognizes that you don't have a preference for something, the guy says, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
If you don't have,
If somebody sees someone not having a preference for something, I said, well, you know, it's okay, either one. I said, what's wrong with you? Give me your favorite color. Well, I hate blue and I love green. Oh, you're my man. Well, mine not. Mine I read, but they had this aversions and attractions. And if you don't have them, there's a problem with you. Why? Because everybody has ragadveshas. You are, the whole world is ragadveshas. That's why we have wars. That's why we have divorces. That's why we have diseases, as a matter of fact. Diseases come because of that. That is why the ecology is going to hell. These aversions and attractions are marking the step. It's like the drum of the person that is marching. You know what I'm talking about? Boom, 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 boom. Step. Ragadveshas. And then there's a world of ragadveshas out there. And then you gotta get your own. And that becomes a struggle. So these likes and dislikes, they're not gonna go away, but it is,
they don't rule you.
it is so undignified for them to be marking the step. Is that how I say marking the step?
Mm-hmm.
It is so amazingly terrible for them to be marking the step. You are supposed to control them. You have to neutralize them. And just because you like something, you're not a dog. You can go have sex in the middle of the street. But then, given the chance, we would. Kind of a thing. Why? Because I like it. But you're married. I'm just human. That's what we say. Put a mark in here. And we'll see. We'll follow. Lord, lead us from what appears to be true to what is true. Lead us, Lord, from confusion into clarity. Lord, lead us from a sense of mortality to recognize our immortality. Lord, that is whole. This is whole. From that whole, this whole became manifest. And if from that whole to understanding, we were to take away this whole, what will remain will again be only the whole. Lord, let there be peace. 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 Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityo Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnaat Purnamudashyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kachit Dukha Bhavet Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. This is another class, man.